your heart feels tired, let the water wash away your sins. And if the snow begins to fall and you can't find a fire, let the water wash away your sins. If the nighttime lasts forever, but the days are cruel and mean, let the water wash away your sins. And you thought one day you'd be happy if you held in all your screams, let the water wash away your sins. Alright, let the water wash away your sins. Let the water wash away your sins. Now that this old world is ending, a new one begins. Let the water wash away your sins. If you spent your whole life working for a world that feeds on doubt, let the water wash away your sins. And those banks keep getting bigger while your pockets empty out, let the water wash away your sins. And if all the thieves and liars have been knocking at your door, let the water wash away your sins. And they said they'd feed your family and you believed what they swore, let the water wash away your sins. Let the water wash away your sins. Let the water wash away your sins. Now that this old world is ending, a new one begins. Let the water wash away your sins. If you thought there was a heaven, but you can't find the proof, let the water wash away your sins. And you can see your brothers marching, but you can't speak your truth, let the water wash away your sins. Oh, if your mother was a screamer and your father ruled with fists, let the water wash away your sins. And if you're thinking about the highway and you're looking at your wrists, let the water wash away your sins. Let the water wash away your sins. Let the water wash away your sins. Now that this old world is ending, a new one begins. Let the water wash away your sins. Come on, one more time. Let the water wash away your sins. Let the water wash away your sins. Now that this old world is ending, a new one can begin. Let the water wash away your sins.
All right, good evening. Thank you for joining me here tonight on this New Year's Eve. I'd like to, before we begin, wish everyone a really good, happy New Year. Or, barring that, an appropriate New Year. The communist tuna wishes to wish it to you as well. So, last time we left off at part 4, the Tree of Life. And we're going to finish that up, and it's about 30 minutes, give or take. And it's going to be a short stream tonight. Go enjoy your friends and family. And with that, that'll finish us up for the year. It'll be a short stream tonight because I already went to dinner and drank a little bit, and woohoo!
Hola, ¿cómo estás? I hope you can see that I'm wearing the Tree of Life t-shirt I have for this video. So, I don't even know where to begin explaining what I saw on ayahuasca. I saw so much of the spirit world, I could make a 2-hour video just from it.
A whole 2 hours. Toured the entire spirit world. Got 2 hours of footage. There are vacation packages that are probably more substantial than that.
I had the most insane trip of anyone I've ever heard of. I took 7 rounds split apart by a 3-month period. The recommended dosage is 3 in a row with a shaman at a facility catered to this. We were in a beautiful location with running water and a garden inside a cave with adobe huts built into the rock. The way it works is that you basically take these shots like vodka, and it's this filthy chocolate dirt liquid. Then it gets stuck in your body for 6 to 12 hours. Psychedelics hit me twice as hard as anyone I've ever met. Probably genetic reasons. And
you were probably on something.
Your trip will likely not be as crazy as mine. I spent something like 70 hours in the spirit world at least. I have 800 contacts.
Spend 70 hours in the spirit world, only gets 2 hours worth of footage with his so-called photographic memory.
In my phone, and I have spoken to God and the devil more than 90% of people in my phone. I have hours, and you and I have a photographic memory. I have hours of recorded discussion in my mind with multiple spiritual forces, whether God, the devil, Mother Nature, time, the anima, etc. So I have a relatively good...
I'm just curious what time had to say, Rudyard.
knowledge of the spirit world, and they've explained me multi-hour philosophic discussions about the underlying nature of reality. I'm going to talk about things that I saw thematically rather than in order. It's all really a jumble. The spirit world is innately incredibly deceptive, and everything is everything and yet nothing and yet other things and yet themselves at all times.
And something is something, and something is not something, and something is anything, and anything is not anything. That's not a sentence insofar as in and of itself. Here's the trouble. Don't do drugs, kids. Remember, most of my audience is of just the right age, if you're American, to remember DARE. And this is why psychedelics don't, how do I put this? Anything that you are going to see while under the influence of something is very much a product of your own mind and your own particular issues at the forefront. Rudyard is about to describe his trip to hell, I believe. And I think it is particularly telling when we go into this, how he kind of approaches this. Both on a personal level and on how he wants to influence people. And I think the thing to remember, because I've been watching a lot of conversations about this, I think the thing to remember about this is, irregardless of what is and is not true in what he is saying throughout the entire course of these, is objective. He stated very clearly, is to found himself a religion, i.e. a cult. And so in this service, he is being an incredibly uncharismatic version of Jim Jones or Jacob Seed or Joseph Seed, from Far Cry 5. The power of yes.
It both makes sense and is a retarded jumble. And that's just the paradoxical nature of reality. What I've heard is that if you have an incorrect theory of the world, 100% of reality is deceptive. And if you have a correct view of the world, reality is innately 20% deceptive. Unless you're wrong. You're
I don't know who told you that, but the math doesn't add up there.
Often wrong, and always wrong in certain ways. The spirit world operates off technicalities, and it operates off hidden clauses where you look at the Constitution. Our founders created all these different systems to protect the different kinds of government, and tyranny always comes to the technicalities of things the founders never thought about. The way psychedelics work neurologically is...
So the spirit world operates like checks and balances. Okay. You care to elaborate?
Is that your brain has certain subconscious wirings that you naturally form over the course of your life. Inside Out, the Pixar movie, covers this in a really great way. And the mind operates like a radio tower in which certain species, through a biological basis, or even different civilizations wire the subconsciouses of people in a certain way on a biological level. An easy example of this is if you look at anthropological studies of Westerners and Easterners, when you ask them to prioritize certain things in a story or a painting, they'll pick different details because they perceive reality differently. And keep in mind how enormous reality is. It's infinitely large, and thus it's impossible to perceive everything. Thus we...
Okay. I think a better illustration of the particular nature of the difference between Westerners and Easterners is how schizophrenics are said to interpret, when they do hear voices, to interpret the voices that they hear. Whereas in Western society, they feel threatened by those voices, and in Eastern society, they tend to feel treat them differently. The idea about reality being infinite is, I guess, functionally for us, yes, absolutely. But again, Rudyard is assigning to this he apparently took a very powerful psychedelic, although some people doubt that hearing this account. He apparently took a very powerful psychedelic, so he is still, even if he is perceiving all of reality, constrained by his own perception. You never get out of the cave, Rudyard. You always in the cave.
We create certain filters for how we perceive reality. These are partly genetically wired and also cultural, which is why you could be genetically identical to someone from the Bronze Age, while they would see dryads and gods and spirits in the world.
But that's innately counterintuitive, because you just said that these are genetically wired. So presumably, if I have a genetic connection that runs all the way back to the Bronze Age to someone who saw dryads, then I too would see a dryad.
And you would not, because the cultural expectations of your society wire how you perceive consciousness.
Well, how is that not anything more than pareidolia at the end of the day? Like, you see a cloud and it looks like a bunny, but if you have no concept of a bunny, it will look like something else.
Psychedelics have been in use for religious reasons for all of human history, in cultures ranging between the ancient Greek Eleusinian rituals, which inspired Plato or Pythagoras, ancient Hindu Soma, and we have very significant amounts of evidence the early Eucharist was a psychedelic. I saw many things.
I went to God knows how many years of CCD and never heard that. I would have been much more interested if it was.
Between heaven and hell, so much so that I can't even begin to describe the totality of it. The spirit world is innately mischievous and built off lies, as I said before. Thus, even using words to describe it is often a fool's errand.
There's a word for when you are unable to put the thing you're talking about into words. It's called ineffable.
Things I cannot even articulate to you, given they exist outside the human frame of consciousness, and yet are so clearly real. I have seen 1,000 years pass in a single instance, and
that's called being high.
Sheer enormity of the human experience as expressed in that time with each individual soul and each individual life. I have seen 1,000,000 suns crash together at once, creating such a level of cosmic destruction as to lead back to nothingness. I have seen the whole of human life concentrated into the great chain of being, and the whole of cosmic human
the great chain of being. All of human life is put together in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. All right, let's do enough of that before YouTube copyrights me.
Cosmic beyond human, all the animals and gods and spirits contained within the great chain of being, stretching and powered from the lower levels of pettiness and evil to God at the top. I have seen 1 billion lives at once, and...
You've seen 1 billion lives at once. Okay. There are what? 8 billion, 7 billion people on the planet Earth right now? You saw 1/7 of that? Billions of people have existed in that length of time? I think you need to get your money back. You got like the short tour, the Epcot ride of the spirit world, Rudyard.
in which you know the individuality of the living whole in the human spirit or the mind of God feeding off the individual lives.
You see the individuality of the human spirit in the mind of God. Is the human spirit the Borg? Is it? We started on the Klingons with honor and glory. Are we now going to the Borg?
With all of someone's life clustered into a single vial that is their consciousness. I have spent more time than I would ever ask for or give to my worst enemy in hell. Hell is more horrible than you could possibly ever imagine.
I don't know. I watched all 10 hours of this shit. It was pretty bad.
You don't even have words for the agony. The suffering is so truly great, it shatters your being, rupturing throughout your soul as you feel agony, and yet your body has already disintegrated, while your suffering encompasses the whole world at once. The suffering is so enormous it breaks space and time, so much so that unique moment is edged into history as being a time when pain could break the nature of man himself. As so many...
Okay. Let's tackle this for a second on a basic level. In order to move through a thing, you are required to experience time. If you are no longer experiencing time, then you're not experiencing anything. You can't move. You can't do anything. You can't be disintegrated. None of that works. You had a trip. You did not have a profound epiphany. So we watched the Da Vinci Code while tripping on acid. I think that's where we're going with this. Like, he's going to be like, I'm going to establish a cult. Jesus Christ's descendants live, and they're with, and they are me.
Mystics have said before, hell is a place the mind crafts by its own design. God doesn't send
I'm pretty sure Voltaire said hell is other people, and he was probably correct.
us to hell almost by natural law. We guide ourselves down there if we deserve it. The afterlife is when your soul hits infinity, right?
Natural law. This is an extension of natural law. Philosophy that I don't think was originally envisioned by the thinkers of the Enlightenment.
When you die, in that you jump out of time, and you are stuck with yourself forever. If your soul is stuck forever, it will lead towards good or evil. And that is the nature of your afterlife.
Well, no, it can't lead towards anything. If it's in infinity, if it's in infinity, it cannot move. It's stuck. It's there. You said it yourself. It's stuck. It's stuck. It doesn't move. It can't move towards good or evil. Also, good or evil are not destinations.
Afterlife. You must firstly, when you die, see yourself for who you truly are. If you had to talk to yourself for 1,000,000 years.
I need to get a soundboard. Remember, Simba, who you are. Look, we're having a Disney night tonight. That's an excellent point, Tenna. If you have to see yourself for who you are in the spirit world, and the spirit world is innately mischievous and plays tricks on you, how can you be sure that you have seen yourself for who you are?
What would your interaction with having to deal with yourself be? There are 1,000,000 hells.
I think I would actually have a pretty good time. I think I'm a pretty cool guy. Like I think we'd chill out, hit up the lesbian cloud, you know, the fun stuff.
Whether that of psychological torture, physical pain, cold, or heat. Hell is yours. All of them share the feeling of being trapped. Hell is a mental loop you put yourself in that you cannot break out of. I suffered physical pain in hell you can't even imagine in your worst nightmares. The worst pain you could ever imagine is barely at all what hell could be. I had...
Okay. I'm going to ask you like this, Rudyard. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your pain?
Demons torture me by ripping my flesh apart. My entire
Wait, how are they ripping your flesh apart? You said you were disintegrated. If you were disintegrated, you had no flesh.
body was viscerally on fire in a way where every atom screamed with the most horror it could feel at once without dying in that instant. You have no concept of how much
Horror is not necessarily something that would kill you. I mean, it could cause you stress, I suppose. But like, people feel horror all the time. It's people go to movies to feel horror on purpose. Are you saying that hell is just watching the Scream 2 trailer on Paramount Plus over and over and over again?
much I have suffered and how long I have spent in hell. I spent something like over 80% of my time in ayahuasca in the spirit world in hell. It was truly a terrible experience in which my concept of time was stretched out. So I spent an infinity of time in hell. I think consciously there's still a part of me that's there stuck in infinity.
I know the feeling. I suppose that's technically correct. Math class taught me that there are multiple different infinities. And while this video doesn't necessarily stretch on into infinity, it certainly feels that way.
And it was a truly terrible experience, but having done it, I have lived. There is no greater living than going to hell. This is so cool, guys. And having seen...
Really? Because it seems like you haven't lived. Like that's the opposite of living. That's dying and going to hell.
Hell made me realize everything in my mortal life could not compare to the depth and the enormity of the divine. For the first time, life did not feel boring to me. I spent dozens of hours speaking to the devil. I don't even dislike him at this point. Much like my mother, he's so evilly...
Rudyard doesn't answer my tweets. But if someone could go and ask him what the devil sounds like and get back to me, I'd be really appreciative.
Kind of circles back around, where I realize he's just a wolf hunting sheep. He's a cold nuclear core which radiates suffering to others, which he himself does not feel, since at the eye of the storm everything is calm. The devil was quite civil.
Okay. Bard, you're here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Satan feel the tortures and pangs of hell just the same as all the rest of the fallen angels and anyone who gets sent there? Have we departed so dramatically from Christian theology already?
With me and polite. He said that I didn't belong in hell, that under normal circumstances I wouldn't be there, and I had to pay a cosmic debt for my bloodline. After I paid the debt...
You had to pay a whole-ass cosmic debt for your blood. What did your bloodline do? Like, what did they do that, and we're presuming this is your fraternal bloodline. Oh God, it's up on Internet Archive? Oh yes. I presume this is your paternal bloodline because you don't seem to count your female relatives as part of your bloodline intrinsically. What did they do that required you to pay a cosmic debt? Like, what scale of sin is it possible by which that you, Rudyard Lynch, had to personally pay a cosmic debt to the devil? His bloodline produced him. That's fair.
I could go back and change my life. The agony of hell became the worst upon the deep realization that I never belonged to be there, that I had been cast into the worst suffering a man could feel for no justice of his own. I was stuck in this mental loop that was killing me. The mental loop was the idea that since consciousness programs reality, that because I perceive myself to be in hell, I would be stuck in hell forever, in all of eternity. I later realized...
Okay. But that doesn't follow. Because I perceive myself to be in hell, I will be there permanently. Does not follow from consciousness programs reality. Again, I was drinking tonight. I'm probably a little angrier than normal.
Like this is the evil loop, or the closed circuit, which lacks humility or the evidence of the outside world, and allows the rationalizing of the greatest evils. The end point of Nazi Germany and communism is from the closed rationalistic loop, and this is the origin of atrocity and totalitarianism.
Closed rationalistic loop is the origin of totality and totalitarianism and atrocity. There are a couple problems. First of all, Nazis and communists are not the only ones who do atrocities. Obviously.
This happened multiple times in a row, in multiple nights in a row. My entire body and sense of self shut down due to the horror of hell. I had to have my friends counsel me at the time to not kill myself. Damn, I can't believe it's still hot in Texas.
Okay, that was probably a good sign to stop doing the fucking drugs.
In December. But back to ayahuasca, I felt the weight of history on my shoulders. I felt the choices I made would determine the lives of billions of people in the future. I felt in every inch of...
No, we just have 23 viewers right now, so I'm afraid you're a little short there.
My body the desire to reject the responsibility. But then God said, I know you won't do that because you care about people and you know that this is your duty. God told me it was my duty to found a religion and that in the process of trying to not found a religion, I would do so anyway. He said that I never consented to this, but that my...
He's right there, but for the grace of God, go I!
bloodline did for me. I told him I didn't want to, and he said, I don't care. He said that he knew I was a...
You know, it kind of sounds like God's a little bit of a dick. I don't care. You're going to do it anyway.
man, and I would accept my responsibility. He said that my sense of honor was seen as a cosmic force to him.
Okay. God knows you won't set down your responsibility, but I'll point out that you deleted this like 24 hours after you posted it.
In its own right. That this very moment I was living in would become historic. I also spoke to God.
All right, I'm going to give him that one. Technically, all moments become historic, but some moments are more historic than others. Someone needs to catch Snowball the pig while he writes that on the side of my house.
When I was on ayahuasca, it's frankly hard to attend church anymore after seeing the God Christians claim to worship. I really don't know what to tell you, but I don't think the God a lot of you are worshiping is the one in the Bible. I hate to say it, but I suspect for some of you it might be the Lord of Lies, dressing in Yahweh's garb to...
Belial? Belial is the Lord of Lies, at least in Diablo. Hang on. Lord of Lies, Christian demonology. Oh, Belial is the Lord of Lies and sins related to sex and lust. Satan is the father of lies. So apparently Christians worship Belial. If you notice on the thumbnail for this video, the communist tuna is hanging out on Rudyard's shoulders. I am going to put a depiction of Belial in next. Slowly but surely we'll add entities to the thumbnail until we have finally encapsulated the cosmic constellation, the cosmology chart of Rudyard's beliefs.
Tell you further lies, and the Bible does a pretty good job of describing Yahweh, especially the Old Testament, and
oh, no, I got
he
turned
is
to
like
a pillar of
seeing
salt.
a million suns crash together at once. Our mortal brains cannot comprehend his excellence and scale. He's more similar to a Lovecraftian monster, all things considered, than to the God mainline churches preach about. Yahweh's power is so enormous you would find it to be horrifying. He demands your loyalty with every fiber of your being. He is an irresistible force of gravity which sucks you in, for he is the only thing that has ever truly existed. I could see into the mind of God, and I saw it as divine clouds. It's the great mist of consciousness. And
that was an episode of The Simpsons, okay? That was totally an episode of The Simpsons. Just the clouds parting. The Simpsons. That was what that was.
which all things happen. The mind of God is all human experience lived at once, with each moment being a beautiful choice with a tapestry of such awesome beauty, you can't help but thank him for the extreme one.
I am now reminded of services everywhere for non-denominational Christian services, except dyslexic. My dog is an awesome dog. He reigns. Wait, what?
Wonder and horror of it. The great chain of being may stretch down to hell, but by its very nature, it leads fundamentally to heaven.
What nature is that? A chain does not necessarily need to go all the way up to heaven or hell. And that also assumes that they go up and down. How do you know they go up and down, Rudy? It was, you said it yourself. The spirit world is deceptive.
Higher forms beat lower forms, thus meaning evolution guides us to be more like.
So what is the highest form on the great chain of being? Rock, paper, or scissors?
God. The sense of profound beauty I felt for the 5% of ayahuasca I spent in heaven was so enormous that it gave me the will to live through the hell. That 5% of beauty made the entire suffering of my life worth living. I knew that God was real and that I could reach.
Okay. Rudy, you're 23. Trust me when I say you haven't suffered yet.
Him. God said that I would have to take responsibility for my future at some point. That it would feel terrifying, but at the same time, I would feel enormous peace after making the decision. He showed me that once I moved through my suffering, I would attain an inner peace, wisdom, and sense of direction that I would physically be incapable of believing at that stage of my life. He showed me the mental
Well, I know that we are all incapable of believing it, so here you go.
State I would have as a middle-aged and older man, and I felt such awe at my future development that it made all of my suffering worthwhile. He said that my decision-making and conscience would come to understand all 9 worlds of the tree of life, that I would gain a
All 9 realms of the tree of life. Ask him if he's gone to Svartpalm.
a sort of connection to the anima mundi, or the experience of lived consciousness itself, so I could empathize with the human condition itself. He said this would be my great gift to humanity, showing us the whole tree of human experience so that we could love each other for our differences. I saw hell below and realized it powered heaven and all the worlds between. When I looked down upon the suffering of hell and I asked God, how do you do it? He said, don't stare down too much, lest they drag you down there for no one's gain.
God's advice about hell, don't look down.
I saw a million dreams of the future, and I'm unclear which are true and which are merely fantasies. You shouldn't take the spirit world that seriously. A lot of it's deception, and I think
I don't know, you seem to be taking it very seriously.
frequently of Lord of the Rings, where you look into the Palantir, and the Palantir is the bad guys, or Sauron's fantasy of the future. It's not the real future. And that's something to keep careful for all of this. And I'm an empiricist. I say this crap. You're here to disprove it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll change my ideas if they're incorrect.
No. First of all, that's not empiricism. Second of all, I'm not the one claiming to have seen the mind of God. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Other words, Rudyard, pics or it didn't happen.
Correct. But I saw AIs grow so advanced it's impossible to distinguish from reality, and that we would
That's just the plot of season 2 of Star Trek Discovery.
upload our souls onto some kind of spiritual cloud. I saw that the government...
It's remarkable to me that his vision of the future... It's remarkable to me that his vision of the future is just Decentraland. Like, collect your new personal NFTs, guys.
government would move towards making 1984 a reality, and that men would be able to manipulate the minds of others to send them to hell.
Okay, first of all, 1984 is not about a totalitarian society in and of itself. And the fact that he speaks about it like this is really interesting because it proves he hasn't read the book. Orwell was writing about how language can be corrupted and changed and modified in such a way as to try to control how you think about things. That your words that you think can reflect reality. That's not the lesson that all the weird little incelly people like Elon Musk and Rudyard take from 1984 is, oh yeah, the government, they're looking at our minds. It's like, no. It's about how you control communication. And the irony is that people like Elon Musk and Rudyard, through their use of language, are more akin to what Orwell's vision of Big Brother was than anything else that you will see in a modern government. Just full stop. Particularly Elon Musk's Twitter and how he's like, yeah, cis is a slur. Is it? Cis has been used as part of like cis alpine. It's been used for thousands of years. It's not a slur. But the thing of it is he wants to make it feel like a slur. That's what 1984 is about. There's your rant for the day.
I saw that I would start to perceive consciousness differently. Finally, I saw I would live in a time where the dance of life would stop, where men and women would stop mating with each other for no fault of my own generation, but there would be extreme worry about our species going extinct. I saw that it was my duty to fight against this. I saw that my place was to be a man who stood for men, that this is what I had to do.
You get a phone book for and stand up for us, Rudyard, because otherwise you're not doing a great job. The dance of life will stop. I don't think so. I mean, it probably stopped for you. It's probably as soon as you posted this video. Like, I have a sneaking suspicion this is going to end up being sent to anyone who matches you on Tinder ever. Always. Just right out there.
I had a profound sense of sexual inadequacy, which I realized was...
Just sit there with that line for a moment. Just sit with that line and glory in it. That's all your videos are, Rudyard. Your videos are the MP4 format sexual inadequacy, the documentary.
Completely undeserved. That made me realize I was forced to feel inadequate about being a man.
God told me I was a stud.
For no real good reason. That I'd been tortured by purely evil and nihilistic people. I was talking to the shaman while I was tripping, and she said, Rudyard, I see your destiny is to stand for men, since the feminine has been kicking them around. The
feminine has been kicking us around. Stomp on me, mommy. No, it hasn't. It's not that. Here's what's happened. Women have been gaining more independence and more rights, and it terrifies the fuck out of people who don't have anything to bring to relationships outside of money and power. And now that women can get those things on their own, men have started to realize that they have to have an actual personality in order to be successful in dating.
Feel the cosmic dance of the masculine and feminine break down. The dancers refuse to show up for the match or even try. That this would be the great question of our time. That this would be the question under which our people lived or died. There's a few hilarious details I have to throw in here. The first is that the first form God came to me in is as a Zoomer bro, because he said that that was the form I best understood, and the way you interact with the spirit world is a two-way process, where when you perceive the spirit world, there's this divine semen, where semen can imprint on a variety of different women in different contexts to produce a different child. So you're interacting with the divine semen, where as you interact.
I'm not entirely certain this is as heterosexual as you want it to be, Rudyard. Like, not sure. Feel like we might have missed the mark. I think God might be gay. What does that do to your philosophy? God standing up there in a Fire Island t-shirt going, I'm not talking to you.
act with each other, something new comes out, which is why these underlying archetypes manifest in different societies around the world in different garbs, because they're interacting with different environments. Where there's the underlying timeless semen. I'm going to keep saying it because I know it makes you uncomfortable. It's funny to watch you squirm. And
none of us can be seen now, Rudyard, and we're not squirming so much as we are feeling a profound sense of sadness.
And so when I was talking to God, God said, I can only explain the world to you. And he was doing this in Zoomer slang, by the way, like yo, bussin', no cap, cringe, whatever. God did not say those words, but that's the kind of vibe.
Should we have an essay contest in which we have everyone write in Zoomer slang to explain the nature of reality as per Rudyard?
And
skibbity, y'all. Skibbity.
For example, your level of social understanding of information is the highest density that God can give you information for. And he said that the breakthrough I'm describing came out due to the computer revolution, which allowed a more advanced breakthrough in how humans process information, where the previous level was the book level, where the Abrahamic religions were established in the highest level of complexity of human data is the book. Or it's why societies around the world have beliefs in dragons but never existed, where the dragon is this archetype that manifests in a series of different subcultures. And when I met God, I first spoke to him, I said, give me proof to show that you are real. And he said, I'm both real and I'm not real. I am a voice in your head, but I am also...
So he's the babblefish. He proves his own non-existence and therefore poofs out of existence.
So God, I am both. And he said, I cannot give you information that you yourself do not search for. And he said, once you trust me, I will give you more information, but the lubricant of faith is the thing that allows me to transmit information to you. So until you trust me, I can't give you any information. So take the leap of faith and trust me. And then after that, God fed me all the information. I saw that we were about to enter
all of the information, but you can only come up with a 2-hour video. I feel like if God gave me the secret to everything, I guess Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is only about 2.5 hours. So maybe 42.
A spiritual dimension called the Halls of Time, that I was the first man to stumble upon the Halls of Time, which are one of the most dangerous parts of a species or civilization's development. This was when we as a species have to grow apart from purely being ordered from...
I think the Halls of Time are a 5-man dungeon in WoW. Caverns of Time, close enough.
From God. We have to take responsibility for our own development, and it's the equivalent of a teenager or a young adult having to leave their parents to fully realize their place. This is a very...
How coincidental that your entire system boils down to the thing that you were functionally doing at the time that you were stoned off your gourd.
Very dangerous level, because your fundamental understanding of what reality is breaks down. You realize concepts you thought you could take completely for granted, like time or existence, are vastly more complex than we realize. And
yeah, most people who take a Philosophy 101 course can realize that those concepts are far more complex than we realize. No shaman required.
Real answers are harder to find than you could ever possibly imagine. And that this is a period where we have to stick together and hold each other accountable and make sure we won't go crazy. Because the line between madness and sanity will grow very, very thin.
And that is a preview for the rest of this video series.
And it's my responsibility to get my people through the halls of time. And the halls of time are also where souls come from before entering the body, and where many evil spirits live. That once we truly understand the nature of time, that everything would change. I could see that through all the chaos of time was my immortal soul, which lived in a cave by itself, pondering all things while helping those who needed it. I saw that my entire life was the unfolding of a destiny that I made choices in time to, but which all played out according to a plan. Free will and predestination are both the exact same in that God sees over time, in that time is an illusion of the passing of a single moment of decision, in which we truly live.
Skibbity.
I saw that through all the suffering, my life still did fundamentally make sense. I was at one with Mother Nature. I could feel the archetypal feminine force of nature. That
The river and the otter are my friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle and a hoop that never ends.
which underlies all concepts of religion and philosophy. I imagined myself as a woman giving birth. I felt such horror and compassion at the female condition, their feelings of complete powerlessness with the world, how they're forced to shove a football.
No. See, that's the thing. You think women are powerless. Women are not powerless. People try to disempower women, but women are not powerless. You think women are powerless.
A football-sized baby between their legs and not die, how their physical weakness was so
Yeah, football-sized baby. Pass complete.
pronounced, they were dependent upon others for survival. I saw the feminine as driven fundamentally by fear and terror, and out of that is the chaos that allows new life. The feminine was its most dangerous when it's scared, and has to be held back from raw chaotic collapse.
Yikes. That doesn't bode well.
The final part of my spiritual journey I saw would result in me allowing life to grow after me. I saw that what I just did would allow trees to grow and buildings to expand. I saw that life had won against death.
Life involves buildings expanding. Rudyard Lynch, 2024.
Already. As long as that happens, I won, and I already won. Later on, as I researched these things, I found that an ancient Egyptian philosophy called Hermeticism had an almost identical similarity to what I saw of the spirit world. When I was on ayahuasca, my overwhelming first impression was that the Platonic archetypes and Carl Jung were completely accurate. I just saw the archetypes. Peterson was right to say a short answer. Ayahuasca.
The lobsters are in league with the communist tuna. Dun dun dun.
Basically fried my brain. I'm still shocked at how deranged I was. As I healed from the PTSD that
I'm still shocked at how deranged you are.
came after ayahuasca, I always assumed that as I grew healthier, I would be harsher on how reckless I was as a decision. The opposite happened. I fucking love that I nearly killed myself to go to hell. What's the point of living if you're not going hard? As you'll see later in the story, I can be psychotically brave. I kept going back to hell since I could sense that it was my duty from God. When God tells you to do something, you do so immediately without hesitation. God demands.
Okay, but God told you to found a religion and you did it, and then you immediately turned around and said it was a big joke. It sounds like you hesitated, Rudyard. The great test of faith was upon us. And you, the man destined to lead us to salvation and to hold back the feminine, whatever the fuck that means. You gave up. You gave up. You abandoned your people, Rudyard.
Did I suffer in hell 7 times for me to clear a generational curse? I have no other choice since my duty is to listen to God, and there's not an easier answer. I'm always shocked how my parents would talk about honor all the time, and duty and courage, since...
Yeah, we're shocked you talk about honor, duty, and courage, too, seeing as you deleted your video setting up your religion that you were told you were supposed to set up. Doesn't sound very courageous to me, Rudyard.
Them being part of a very specific American subculture and ethnic identity had such an enormous impact on the rest of the course of my life. And It's really another anthropology example that sticks to the theme from this video. My family had told me growing up the worst thing a man could do is to be a coward or to back down. And I'm not a coward because I am a lynch
Well, you did delete the video. Just a thought.
after all. And it's crazy to see cultural stuff my family gave me inform facing hell and the rest of my life. And I have complete faith in God. I knew that he was the sun that determined whether I lived.
Yes, it turns out that courage and honor were not nearly as good as Peter Thiel's money.
Or died. I had stood before multiple gods. This shocked them. They couldn't believe a mortal had done this.
Say what? Why are you here, mortal? How'd you do that?
And they said, mortal, how did you do this? Most of you did die by this point. You can't handle hell. And I said, I know I'm Rudyard William Lynch. I know that I exist, and thus I know I cannot be destroyed by another spiritual force, and I know as a fundamental fact of existence that I exist. So
Your existence is a fundamental fact of existence. I'll put the archive link in the chat. Yeah. So your you exist, therefore you cannot be destroyed, is probably not a thing you want to test outside of like anime battles. Although I don't think it'd work in most animes either. That's really a Hetman department. We'll check with him this week.
you can't kill me. And so my guide to the spirit world was just refusing to die. And so I saw various cool stuff.
Well, mortal, I guess if you're not going to die, we might as well show you where we keep the surround sound system for the spirit world, and we have a 14 cotillion inch TV to watch the NBA games on.
It was a total vegetable after I finished ayahuasca. I slept for 48 hours straight after 2 nights with no sleep. I then missed my flight back to America, and I flew to Boston since my father and I had been fighting over Jennifer, and I didn't trust him at that time. Merrick took care of me for 2 weeks in my vegetal state.
Your father, you didn't trust your father. The father that you... This is going to be an interesting point later on.
For the time after ayahuasca, I felt as if the spirit and physical world had been so intermeshed as I could see one spilling into the other in active time. I could see the Platonic archetypes manifest in the physical world, while I saw the connection between all of things. And I saw that everything is fundamentally an extension of all things. So when you see one thing,
everything is an extension of all things, and no things are the retraction of nothing.
You are seeing the fundamental nature of all things. And that may sound like BS, but it's still true.
No, it's not.
I couldn't sleep one night, which was too horribly going to become my new normal for the next few years. At 2 a.m., I felt the divine will move through me, and I wrote a 10-page longhand in my notebook. I was in the hotel lobby for a few hours writing.
You felt the divine will move through you. You're walking down the hall and you feel something fall. The divine will!
Ideas straight. And the janitor walked up to me and said, "Hey, I can see that the will of God is moving through you. Because when I write church music..."
See, that's the thing, though. Okay. Bearing in mind what I said earlier about don't do drugs. But in the state of Colorado, marijuana is legal, and I have from time to time taken edibles. And you know what it does? It puts me to sleep. It actually defeats my insomnia. So you don't do psychedelics, kids, unless you are sufficiently grounded and prepared.
You look like... I look like how you look now. And that...
like a homeless bum sitting in the hotel lobby, scribbling furiously.
Longhand script I wrote later became the video for the manifesto of the new right. All
which was awful.
Most everything in that video is dictated to me by God. And that includes the ideas of consciousness evolution, our reality being a Darwinistic game in which God has certain rules which we follow to win, and on top of that, the greatest need of our time being decentralization.
So reality is basically just a game of Pokemon.
Watch the video if you're interested.
I'm not. All right. That ends the first video. See? We're there. Probably maybe Friday we'll pick up with the second video and get through as much of that as we can. I want to once again wish everyone a happy new year. Stay safe. Don't drink and drive. Take your medicine. Make sure you have a good night. And thank you once again, everyone, for coming out tonight. Oh, it is a little late. What's a good note to send you off?